What's going on, fam? What's going on, fam? It's your boy, the TUBI Kang. We doing a special one. This is Tubi Tuesday on a Thursday, man. So I just want to thank everybody, man, who is tuned in and will tune in. As I always say, I pray that you have had a great day up until this point and that it continues to be great. If you have not had a great day up until this point, I pray that from this moment forward that your day does get exponentially better in my TI voice, man. So we got a good one tonight. I have with me none other. You know what? I'm going to let him introduce yourself, man. I'm turning it over to you, brother. Go ahead and let the folks know who you are.
What's up, everyone? I'm Nathan Light. I'm a filmmaker in Wichita, Kansas, and I've been doing my thing and got a lot to look forward to.
Okay, awesome, awesome, man. So we're gonna hop right into it. So, what got you into filmmaking?
I loved movies growing up. In fact, when I was little, I wanted to be an actor in the movies, and I figured the only way to do that was by making movies on my own and starring in them. And so I did that for a while, but once I got a bit older, I discovered that I enjoyed making movies much more than I did being in them. I didn't want to be in the movies, I wanted them to be my movies. And so after high school, I went to Hutchinson Community College and got my associates in media communications and production. And I then transferred over to Wichita State University and got my bachelor's in digital arts. And ever since, I've been working in various different types of media production, and it's all been very enjoyable. I started off doing short films that I played in small time festivals that are locally here around the Midwest, particularly the Tallgrass Film Festival. I've had I then went on after making short narrative films to do documentaries, half-hour documentaries, and those are the ones that have played at the Tallgrass Film Festival. And after my documentaries, I then just kind of just felt like it was time to tackle my first feature, and now here I stand.
Okay, cool, cool. So, when you was going through that thought process of like, you know what, it's time. What became? How can I put it? Your biggest challenge in producing your own film.
My biggest challenge in producing my own film was with how guerrilla like the filmmaking process was in making my first feature as basically a no name filmmaker and someone who
Hmm.
has yet to develop a bit of a name for themselves. And also not raising money from investors at all or from, GoFundMe campaigns or whatnot. I basically made this first feature out of my own pocket on a budget of $5,000. I basically wanted to show that I can make a movie on my own and I have what it takes. And yeah, the best way I can describe the experience of making the movie is that it was very guerrilla like. There were a lot of obstacles along the way that having a bigger budget I felt like would have been fantastic.
Gotcha.
And also being able to having to work around other people's schedules, the cast and crew's schedules, and just having to offer to be very flexible, especially if you're paying them little to none on
Right.
basically what's out of your own pocket.
Right, right. So when you were picking your cast, were they like? Did you make like a casting call for? Were they like friends, family?
It was a little bit of both. I made a casting call on a Facebook group page called Wichita Actors and Actresses, which was basically local talent in Wichita. I did that and I picked a few of the auditions from there for a few of the lead roles, particularly the roles of Ryder and Harold Zabowski.
Okay.
Um, well, actually, I think it was just Ryder, actually. And for the other leads, they were mainly people I personally knew or people who I was I was able to come across through other people I had reached out to who weren't available but connected me to. Um, but yeah, it was a hybrid of both, and also just people who I thought looked the part very well, very much so as well. And I gotta say, with the main leads, they're basically how I envisioned them in the script when I was writing it. They look
Gotcha.
very similar, and yeah, it was it was a small miracle that I was able to get that all to come together on that part and be able to get all my talent for the scenes that we needed basically and be able to make a feature length project out of it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because like when the movie first, what I'm saying, came on, and I think Dakota was the young lady's name. And I see her, what I'm saying, in the bushes with the rifle. My first thing like, oh, we get action, you know what I'm saying, right away. But she was end up, what I'm saying, hunting for a buck, for a deer, and then her watch went off and things like that. So where did that the Vendetta Road, give us a insight into that title.
Well, Vendetta Road, first of all, is Vendetta is basically a feud you have between two different groups, and it's more based on the character of Ivan. I would I would say that the movie is more Ivan's story, but it's told through Dakota's point of view. And it's about the feud between Ivan and the mafia and him trying to escape and Dakota um, finding herself involved. And then Road was basically more metaphorical, and
Okay.
it was just a road, a path basically of vendetta that Dakota got in the middle of basically, and that's where I got Vendetta Road. And
Okay.
also, the title Vendetta Road is a there's a book called Vendetta Road, and there's also an episode of The Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno called Vendetta Road. And I had kind of known about that title, and I really liked it, and just thought it would be a cool name for a movie, simply put.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Man, now she was working as like, I guess it was like an Airbnb with the cabins and things of that. But for the people that have watched the movie and that will watch the movie, man, um, Dakota could hold her own. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
she wasn't a punk by any stretch, what I'm saying,
Mhm.
of the imagination, but she was also not even getting entangled in that, but with, what I'm saying, this guy right here who, what I'm saying, was a boss or what have you, but end up playing a more we'll get to that in a minute, but end up playing a more different role um towards the end of the film. But on this in this scene right here, what made Dakota strap a camera to a remote control truck and go out and set it out in the field looking for things? Like what was she what triggered her to do that?
Well, she saw this mysterious, hooded person with a shovel and a trash bag that was big enough to fit a body in. And he walks off out of camera view, and she shuffles through and sees that there's no other camera angles that have this guy. and that he's nowhere to be found. So she remembers a remote control car that was sitting in the lost and found, grabs the remote control car, and then grabs one of the deer trail cameras and basically tapes the camera onto the RC car and sends it off to go looking for him. And in that way, she's a relatively safe distance away from any danger she might come across.
So I'm watching that and I'm thinking like, you know what? Those remote control cars are freaking loud. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And the
a
guy
big
is
range
already
too.
the guy is already trying to, he's already doing something that he's trying to be, you know what I'm saying, secretive about. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, she finna get caught. He finna catch this and all this other
Mm-hmm.
stuff finna unfold. And he ends up, you know what I'm saying, catches catches the remote control car and brings it back to her. So once he brings it back to her and they have a conversation, what happens after that?
Well, after they have a conversation, Dakota is suspecting that he's about to do something to her, and she's very hesitant with continuing on with their conversation and giving him his toothbrush and toothpaste that he supposedly says he needs. And she decides to, put her gun back into her holster and gives Ivan his toothbrush and toothpaste. And he notices that she is now armed, and that makes Ivan think that she knows something about him, and she knows that he is not not just a normal customer, and that she might potentially be onto him. And he basically casually walks out and runs to his cabin to basically pack things up and go on the run again.
But before that happens, you know, we see something else, you know what I'm saying, come apart, and here they go meeting again. So at this point, those suspicions have now became like, hey, it's not suspicion anymore. I know, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, what you did. So she ends up confronting him, but it doesn't go the way that she, cause even though right here she she has the upper hand on him, but then she ends up, you know what I'm saying, on the bad end, you know what I'm saying, of the stick. So what was going on in this scene right here to where she had to drop on him, and then all of a sudden at the blink of an eye, now he has to drop on her.
Well, Ivan feels like he's been caught and that he's going to be, taken, to the police, or even then be held captive until the mafia finds him. And so while he's in a holdup, walking with Dakota, he kicks a rock at her legs that knocks her down, and is able to grab her rifle back to him and is able to hold him up. And Dakota is yelling at him, and she doesn't know the half of it at all. She's like, "What are you doing? You don't want to do this." And Ivan, without trying to, feeling like it'd be too long of a story to be able to explain what's going on or what his situation is like, "Just let me go and everything will be fine." And then she's like, "Nope, nope, no matter what, just put the rifle down." And he basically shoots a shot from the rifle at her, but within close range, so that, she doesn't get hit. And, Ivan, he has a heart, and he doesn't want to, kill this innocent person who just feels like she's doing the right thing. And he shoots within a close range of her and is able to make run for it by then, pretty much.
Yeah, cause like when I first saw, I'm like, oh man, he finna kill her. You know what I'm saying? Cause I'm like, she's talking a lot of noise, and this guy has this rifle. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, just let him go on about his business. If you're trying to think of a plan, at least let him get away from you. You get out of harm's way. But she was still very aggressive, very adamant. You know what I'm saying about it? Telling him to put the rifle down. And when I heard the gun, I'm like, oh no. And then I see her get. I'm like, okay, woo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then it gets to the point to where they're back in the cabin. And what's going on in this little interaction right here?
Well, they have one last confrontation between each other in the cabin, and Ivan gets the upper hand. He gets a hold of her Smith and Wesson revolver, you know, and then he takes her to the back and handcuffs her, and he makes sure to affirm to her that he has no intentions to hurt her, and he looks at the computer with the deer trail cameras and shuffles through them and notices that the mafia has shown up and has found where he's at, and they're shuffling all around the premises of the campground for him, and he hears the door open of the front office cabin, and he tells Dakota to basically shoo him away the most professional way, and basically to have her tell him that there is, you know, nothing that she's aware of, and she hasn't seen this guy that they're supposedly looking for.
Yeah, because now this guy comes in and he's asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, okay, the jig is up pretty much, you know what I'm saying, now, because it was a part where we're coming up, and I'm pretty sure you'll tell us about it, to where Ivan has Dakota go finish something for him. What did he want her to go finish?
Like with this front desk scene, or
Yeah, this thing right here.
this scene. Well, Dakota agrees to try to get Ivan out of his hair by basically getting him out of the premises of the campground so he can continue running on foot. And after an unsuccessful try of trying to, use her truck to try to get away, realizing that they've cut the spark plugs of everyone's cars at that campground, um, they decide to do a little investigation on how the mafia found where he's at on the campground, and they decide to go back to the burial site where Ivan buried this dead mafia member, to see if there's anything about him, like he has some sort of tracker on him or whatnot, and to make sure that he has, to see if they found him, if the mafia has found this corpse at all, to make sure that they don't, and because that would be a dead giveaway that the mafia is on the premises. And yeah, Dakota decides to go herself while talking to Ivan on a walkie-talkie, and while trying to finish the burial job herself, she stumbles across one of them, basically one of the gunmen, and yeah, and it goes from there.
Now, this guy right here, like I said, I was like, nah, it was something about him that I just didn't trust. You know what I'm saying? It was just
Mhm.
something about him that I didn't trust. I just couldn't put, you know what I'm saying, my finger on it. So what was this guy role, and what was he doing?
Well, he starts off as checking in as a campground tourist, basically, a cabin resident who wants to stay for a couple nights, maybe. A very upbeat and lighthearted tourist who's very quirky and comes off as somebody who you would least expect to be, part of some sort of, evil syndicate. And yeah, I really love that guy. He's probably, he's definitely the best character in regards to comedic relief in the film. That's Julian Cornejo. I found him from Wichita State Theater.
Okay.
And he was, the character of Zabowski was partially inspired by the actor Wayne Knight and a little bit of Danny DeVito as well. And I was writing that character in mind with somebody who would give a very good twist, someone who you'd least expect to be part of a mafia. And yeah, I just think the actor, Julian Cornejo, he brought a lot to the table in regards to comedic relief and just entertainment as well. I thought once it's revealed that he's one of them, he was pretty intimidating in a way.
Yeah, because I thought that, like, when you say like he was upbeat, I'm like, yeah, he's really really upbeat. It was just something like I didn't think that he was involved with the mafia in the movie, but I thought that it was gonna be like something else that was gonna be revealed with him. But then he turned around and it's like boom, you know what I'm saying? he got his boys with him to, you know what I'm saying, to draw down on Dakota, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, I knew something shady about him, but I didn't know it was gonna be, you know what I'm saying, to that degree. So after this scene right here, when they draw down on Dakota, you know what I'm saying, know what she's, you know what I'm saying, trying to do, what she's helping with, you know what I'm saying, what precedes this scene right here?
Well, the mafia captures Dakota because she had a plan in mind that she thought would work, where she goes up to Zabowski and tells him that this guy they're looking for, she saw him running away, out east in the eastward direction of the premises, basically. And the mafia's basically figured it out at this point that, she's safeguarding him, and decides to take Dakota down into a ditch to hold her hostage for later, and to also siege the main building that Ivan is hiding in. And she's able to escape by digging into the side of the ditch and finding a branch to be able to hold on to and climb up. And in this scene right here, she is able to approach a mafia member quietly from behind, dead knee him so that he falls onto his knees onto the ground, and snap his neck. And that was a lot of fun to film. We looked for all sorts of different ways to be able to film that, and it was hard to get a wide angle of that without it looking hokey in a way.
Gotcha.
So we thought it'd be cool we eventually had the idea to just get a close-up of the mafia member of his eyepiece and to follow him downwards and jolt the camera once his neck is snapped.
Yeah, because I'm like, because when I first saw them throw her down in the ditch, I'm like, man, this girl is too resilient, man. That's gonna end up biting her. I'm like, they should have just went ahead and got rid of her. You know what I'm saying? Right then and there. And I'm like, man, they gonna end up, you know what I'm saying, regretting that. But I understand these guys was the mafia, but Ivan and Dakota, they were like a dynamic duo together. I mean, even with Ivan right here, escaping, and what was going on right before this scene, where he's escaping, and right afterwards.
So the mafia knows that Ivan is in the main building. They walk in, search around for him. They find him, but Ivan is able to shoot down one of them right when he is seen, basically, and runs out before the other mafia member is able to land a bullet on him, and is able to run out. And after that, the other mafia member searches him down.
and like I was saying earlier about the dynamic duo. I mean, even right here, you know what I'm saying, there's another mafia member that, you know what I'm saying, Dakota has taken down. And I will say that, like, this was one of my favorite scenes
The playground
in the
scene.
movie right here. Like this, like this was like this was like some John Wick, or I don't know what you want to call it, but it's explain to the people, man, what happened right here, man. I love this scene right here.
I mean, in a nutshell, it's a fight scene that happens on a playground. I was between the remaining mafia member from the main cabin who was looking for Ivan. It's a one-on-one gunfight. Um, it was a lot of fun to film. I was hesitant to, shoot this scene or to even include it in the movie because I thought it would come off as a little over the top having it take place on a playground. But we did it anyways. And at that point, in the shooting process, I kind of just, wanted to have some fun with the movie because that playground scene was the last scene we shot. And we were very like worn out with filming.
Gotcha.
And we were just trying to get through our day by that point. So we were able to get that scene done relatively within an hour, and it was very well orchestrated. The scene really
I agree.
wasn't in the script that much. It was what plays out in the script is basically the mafia member is tracking Ivan through the woods, and Ivan basically is able to hide behind a tree while the mafia member is continuing searching forward and then just shoots him from behind. And at that point, once it came time to film that, I'm just like, this should play out a bit more and also be a bit more intense and let's have a bit more action. Why not?
Yeah.
And it should be noted that I also was kind of worried that with everything we shot, the amount of footage that we would eventually have edited together wouldn't end up being feature length, 80 minutes.
Gotcha.
And so I thought it'd be cool to have that scene drag out longer in a certain way. And the camera operator, the co-camera operator that I had with me, Casey, he had a lot of experience with choreographing fight scenes for independent film. And basically on the spot while we were filming that scene, he choreographed that scene and basically wrote what plays out in that scene on set pretty much. And that was a lot of fun. Nobody really got in our way. We did take about a 10-minute break when one kid came up and played on the playground for a while, but he was gone after just a couple of minutes. And it was kind of funny. They had some, his dad had a funny remark about, the mafia member actor who was, wearing that head to toe hunter's gear outfit in July weather.
Oh man, but man, I'm so glad that y'all put it in there. Like I that was like that was like my favorite part. You know what I'm saying? Just when the gun slid down, I'm like, man, how you go? Is he gonna have to hop down? And then when he slid down, and then I was like, oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even in that,
It's a lot
go
of
ahead,
people's
bro.
favorite scene, I might want to add. Like,
Oh,
a
it
lot of
is
people, when I
okay.
ask what their favorite scene is, they say it's the playground scene. I'm like, cool, I'm glad you enjoyed it. That almost didn't get in, but I'm glad it did get in.
Exactly. And so he ends up shooting the mafia member, killing him, but they're still not out of the woods yet. no pun intended,
Mm-hmm.
because now we still got mafia members, well, a mafia member after them, but my girl Dakota wasn't playing no games at all because he's shooting at them while they're in the river, and she returns fire and ends up, you know what I'm saying, and ends up killing him. And I'm just like, man, this girl is, you know what I'm saying, is no joke at all. And they go from the river to being on an ATV four wheeler. So what's going on in this scene right here?
Well, these sequences are basically the levels that you play on a video game, pretty much. Um, you go through all these different landscape obstacles while having to fight the enemy. They, they go through that river and have made it onto the other side, and they see a mafia member on in a four wheeler, and they think that's their opportunity to be able to get out of that campground quickly. And
Yeah.
Dakota basically snipes down one of them, and they're able to hop onto the four wheeler and escape right before they were invaded by another one, but eventually did come out on top of the other mafia member and are able to finally have a vehicle to be able to speed out of there.
But that was short lived because here come my guy again, popping right back up. You know what I'm saying? And he's actually, you know what I'm saying, all on him. Of course, they're in the ATV, and he's in a truck. So on this scene right here, when he's being chased, they go from being chased down by the guy, and now they're in a restaurant. What is going on right here?
Well, Zabowski is basically the only mafia member left. It's basically he's the final boss, pretty much, or so what they think at the time. He chases them down into a small town where Dakota and Ivan take refuge in, and it's a diner that is owned by Dakota's friend Tamara, and Zabowski basically tracks them down all the way into the diner. But at that time, Dakota and Ivan have advised a plan to be able to take him out with a 2-against-1 fight.
And we see that plan worked flawlessly because down goes
He did.
Sabowski right there, you
Yep.
know what I'm saying, in it. So I'm thinking like, okay, you know what I'm saying, they got away, even, you know what I'm saying, in this scene right here, they're doing their final goodbyes and everything. And I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying, they made it out. My guy's gonna go on to escape the mafia, won't have to be looking over his shoulder. Dakota had so much enthusiastic, unexpected fun, you know what I'm saying, on her shift. And then she goes back to clean everything up. And then her boss comes back in. So what's going on right here?
Well, Ryder has a turnaround shift pretty much. He comes back in, and Dakota has cleaned everything up, covered Ivan's tracks, and she's able to get all of that done, all of that cleaned up, and make everything look perfectly normal just seconds before Ryder comes in. And she thinks she's able to just end her shift and continue on with her life with a fond memory of that particular work shift she had. And Ryder walks in, you know, she's just like, all right, well, here's all you need to know. Here's the rundown of what's going on at the campsite. All right, see you later. But she stops in her tracks right when Ryder asks her a particular, very broad question. Why did you
Yeah.
let him go? And right in that scene, she learns that Ryder was pretty much he checked Ivan in to the campsite, and he was pretty much the one who found out that where Ivan was in the mafia, and was able to call up the mafia and tell him this is exactly where he's staying.
And it went from a feeling of relief to to okay, that's a crazy question to ask me, to now I'm staring down the barrel, you know what I'm saying, of this gun. And even he was like, hey, you know what I'm saying, when she was gonna go for a gun, he was like, hey, don't even think about it. But once again, and I don't understand why people didn't figure this out. Dakota wasn't to be messed with, because this ends up happening to my guy right here. Like he so what happens in the scene to where he goes from this to this?
Essentially, Dakota was hiding Zabowski's Uzi automatic in her jacket pocket, and is able to shoot him down Jesse Pinkman style. And he's basically been taken out, and she finally has the upper hand. And that's pretty much the moment she learns that everyone is mafia in her life, it feels like.
Everybody.
And Ryder tells her that, you know, she is surrounded by people who are going to be after her, and at that point she decides to flee and potentially join Ivan with his journey to Hawaii.
Man. And the crazy thing about that was like when he drew down on her, I really thought, I'm like, man, Ivan finna come back and save her.
Mm-hmm.
That was my entire thought. I'm like, Ivan finna come back and save her. And then when she ended her own, I'm like, oh shoot, she need Ivan. I need to put some respect on Dakota name. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So, man, throughout the entire movie, um, what kept my attention was it really wasn't predictable. Like I had some things where like, okay, that might happen, but it didn't. You know, and so on and so forth. And then like the scenes to where Dakota was handling her own, but it wasn't so like on some Rambo type stuff. It was like
Mm-hmm.
very realistic, you know what I'm saying, the things, you know what I'm saying, that she was doing. Now, did some of the people, the mafia members, underestimate her? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But throughout what she did, what her and Ivan was doing, like it was just totally how they was taking people down. It was like totally like I was never thinking like, nah, that could never happen. Or, nah, that's too far fetched. Or nah, that's beyond the realm of possibility. Like, it's like everything was like in pocket, and that's one of the things that I just loved. You know what I'm saying about about the film. Even what I'm saying being in the Marines. You know, just the one shot, one kill. I'm getting hyped in my seat, like, oh, get him. You know what I'm saying? So I just love the acting on up on down. My guy Sabowski, like I said, I like, nah, it's something about that guy. Like I said, I didn't know he was a part of the mafia, but I was like, nah, it's something else that he got going on at the camp, or something that's going on, man. But I definitely, man, thoroughly enjoy this movie, man. And is there anything you want to tell the people who haven't saw it? Tell them why they need to see this movie.
I think the notion that it was made on a budget of $5,000 says a lot, and it shows that you can make a movie on any budget, and also just a very entertaining one as well. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, I intentionally try to go out and make sure that it doesn't come off as predictable in any way, and make sure to have lots of twists along the way, and to also make sure there are twists that have hints spewed throughout, and that don't just come out of left field without any sort of lead in at all. And yeah, I think it's just a very fun thriller film with lots of twists along the way and lots of action along the way. And I really like how much it builds up from just like kind of a whodunit mystery at the beginning, where Dakota starts off just looking around to see something's a bit off with one of the guests, and then it builds up to eventually by the end a big action movie and an escape movie too. And you see Dakota go from the beginning of her shift just sitting behind her front desk very bored to being involved in a four-wheeler truck chase and having to drive all around outside the campground and end up running on foot to a small town and be able to come back to all of that and to show how much of an adventure it's been. I think that's really cool to show. And to also show how big of a scope you can make this on a budget of $5,000. And basically to check it out. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Definitely, man. So Nathan, man, thank you so much once again for sitting down with the TUBI Kang, man. I greatly appreciate it. So before we get you out of here, do you have anything coming up? Else any films or acting debuts or anything? What you got for the people?
Absolutely. I have a documentary that's about to come out as a bonus feature on a Blu-ray. I made a documentary about the making of a movie filmed here in Wichita in the 1970s. It's called King Kung Fu. And my documentary is a making of King Kung Fu documentary, like what you see on bonus features on DVDs and Blu-rays of movies. And the Blu-ray for King Kung Fu is coming out very, very soon. And make sure to check it out and check out my making of documentary on there as well. I made that back in 2019, and that played at the Tallgrass Film Festival. And it's really cool that it's going to be available for commercial release.
Definitely, man. So we definitely gonna be looking forward to that. Make sure y'all look forward to all of the things that he has coming up in the future, and make sure y'all check out Vendetta Road. I'm telling y'all, when y'all see that playground scene, y'all gonna be like, man, he was right about that. You know what I'm saying? But the movie overall was definitely, man, a solid movie, man. So congratulations to you, and definitely wish you much more success. In the future, to where you'll have a $1 million budget or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying, that these movie budgets are nowadays, man. So we thank everybody that tuned in on this Tubi Tuesday, on a Thursday, man. Definitely shout out to my guy, producer, director, actor, filmmaker, writer, Nathan Light, man. And we wish him well on his future endeavors, man. So as y'all already know, before we get up out of here, this is brought to you courtesy of the 2020 Podcast LLC. Please say the LLC. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell button, man. We always have great content, man. So make sure that y'all hit us up on YouTube. That is the 2020 Podcast LLC. This is also sponsored to you by Black Renaissance Clothing Brand. You go to the website, www.shopblackrenaissance.com. They always have new gear dropping, so make sure you go to the website. That is www.shopblackrenaissance.com. Also, Black Box Grooming. You go to the website www.blackboxgrooming for all your beard needs, your beard oil, your beard butter. It's all natural, all organic, so you ain't got to worry about 2 years down the road that you got a shark's fin growing out the side of your neck because you put some on your face and hair that wasn't supposed to be in there. It's all natural, all organic. If you're in the Mobile area or the Gulf Coast area, go to 105 North Jackson Street, aka Canary Bar, where they have something every night. Doors open Tuesday through Sunday at 5 o'clock. They always have something going on. Of course, my favorite day is Friday because they have what? R&B Friday, and y'all know I love R&B. So make sure y'all go to Canary Bar. That's 105 North Jackson Street, Mobile, Alabama, in the heart of the Entertainment District Center. If you're looking for a house, buy a house, sell a house, buy land, sell land. Make sure you holler at my girl Rosalind Spencer, man, realtor with Keller Williams Realty, and she will put you in the right direction, man, to get your home, your house, whatever it is that you need. And last but not least, K Marie Photography. If you're looking for something classy, something from the graduation side, even if you're looking for something on the sensual side, make sure you holler at my girl at K Marie Photography, man, and she will put you in the game. And from producer, director, I'm just gonna call you the Ginzu knife. From the Ginzu knife, Nathan Light, and from the Tubi King, man, we want to wish y'all have a great night, and we will holler at y'all later. And of course, this has been an EBH Productions. Y'all have a great night.